Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a beautiful day here in Houston. We are live at the BridgingApps Technology Lab, presented by Easter Seals of Greater Houston. We've got a couple of people here in person. I will be answering questions from them as well as comments that you send over Facebook. Today we're going to be discussing iOS 11's Control Center. Now, bear with me a moment. I should have my screen up there. Perfect. We're looking all right over there, Kathy? Perfect. Now, should have an option here to move over to my screen. Kathy and Kenzie, are you seeing that iPhone screen? Bear with us. We'll take just a couple seconds to do a little check here. We are seeing that. Wonderful. Now, you may or may not be familiar with how to bring up the flashlight on your phone. If you do, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and do that. Bring up the flashlight on your phone. You don't have to turn it on, but great. We've all got that kind of a screen going on. Perfect. I'm going to take a moment to move back over to the screen of me. Now, the way to bring up the control center is going to be with a sliding movement upward. A whole bunch of buttons will come up. This can be done on both the lock screen and the lock screen is the way your phone looks or your iPad looks before you put in your passcode if you have one. So on either before or after putting your passcode, you can slide from the colored part. This is going to be white or black. Slide your finger up. I like to place my finger next to the home button and just slide up on that screen. Perfect. That should bring up our control center. Now I'll move back to the screen here. So Facebook, you can take a look at that as well. I'm going to slide this up once more. This is the control center. Yours may look a little bit different than mine. You may see some things that are similar in here. This can be adjusted. This is customizable, the options that you have in here. Some that are standard, I'm going to go over first, are right at the very bottom. We see a flashlight, which is this button. This one's very popular. I don't think that'll show on my Facebook screen. There it goes. When it's colored blue like that, that means the feature is on. A little trick with this, oftentimes when you're using the flashlight, you're in a dark situation and that light can be very, very bright. So if you hold it down hard, you can adjust exactly how bright that light needs to be. Now when you're trying this out, kind of hold it down if you can. I would not advise looking straight at the light. It is quite bright, but this does give you that option of adjusting the brightness. So you don't need to have full brightness going on. Great.
So you just hold it?
Just hold it hard and glide your finger up and down. I'll move over a moment here to my FaceTime screen. Now that movement on the flashlight is a hard hold, and you can guide up your finger, and that's changing how bright my light on the back of the phone is going. Great. We'll move screens here, go back over to the phone. Cool. Right of the flashlight, and I see a couple of you might still have your flashlights on. You can turn them off. This will use your battery if you leave it on, so be conscious of that one. If a good tell sign, if you've left your flashlight on, as you're talking with people and you're holding your phone, if they start making faces at you, you might have left your flashlight on. So that's a good warning sign. Now, again, we're going to the control center, which is a slide up, just like that. go. I'll move my screen here to the scene. Oh, actually, before I switch to that, similar to my last Facebook live stream, we have a very special guest today, and I want to say thank you to the lawn crew who is right outside. They are on the same schedule as me, and though I am in a completely different location as I was last time, they also seem to be running on the same schedule and location as I am, so I apologize for the extra noise, but our special guest is here and they are loud, so I apologize for that. Yeah, got a question here.
Is this accessible to us at the satellite office?
It should be. We are on Facebook Live right now on the BridgingApps Facebook page. Now, I'm going to slide back up here on my control center, and our sound effects today are brought to you by the lawn crew. They've brought wind blowers, leaf blowers, whatever those are called. Great, so we've just gone over the flashlight and the ability to change your brightness there. Right of the flashlight is a timer. It kind of looks like a circle with a little dot in it, kind of looks like a clock. Tap that. It's a quick way to get to your clock app, which has a timer. It defaults to the timer app. So this is a quick way to use the timer. I often use Siri as my way of starting a timer, but this is actually a great example of when Siri may not be the best option, where your voice may be battling with the lawn crew with leaf blowers outside, and Siri may not be able to hear you. So if you're in a position where you can't use Siri, maybe it's too loud, this is a nice fast way, control center, timer, nice fast way to get to your timer app. Again, control center, switch screens here, cool. Right of that is the calculator. Just a fast way to get to your calculator if you need to crunch some numbers. We'll give that a tap. Brings me straight to the calculator app. Very straightforward, that one. Back to the home screen. Slide up for the control center. Next up is the camera, which I will point out the window to see if I can capture, if that shows there. We can see my special guest right out there. There he is, looking like a Ghostbuster. He ain't afraid of no ghosts or leaves. Great. Slide back up. Now, at the bottom of this, I've got a little wallet looking icon, which is, it's actually the wallet on here. I've got this in my control center. I've added it, and personally the gym that I am a member of, I'm going to switch my screen here so you can see what I'm pointing at, this last button at the bottom. The gym I have a membership at, when you walk in, you have to scan your membership card, or you can have them scan your phone. They've got an app. When I use the app provided by the gym, I'll have to slide a couple screens, find that app, give it some time to load. The connection isn't very good in the gym, my signal's not great there, and it takes a while to load up my little barcode. But having this in my wallet, I can instantly bring up my gym membership and my other loyalty cards, gift cards as well. I'm going to move this over to scene. So this function here, if I slide up to control center, tap the wallet, quick way of bringing up my loyalty card there, my membership card. So there's several other things here in the control center we're going to go over. But first, I am exiting this and going into the settings app, which is here at the bottom corner of all of my apps. It's a silver mechanical thing with a nice bright 1 because it needs my attention for something. No worries, don't fret if you ever see there's an update or some kind of alert there. It wants your attention for something, and it's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean it's anything pressing. It's good to check it out, find out what it is, and if you're not sure, let us know. We'll help you out with that. So I'm scrolling down to the option that says Control Center. I'm going to move that to the very top of my screen. It's a gray square with some white buttons in the middle, and it says Control Center. I'll tap that right there. I have access within Apps on, and I'm going to go straight to the Customize Controls option. Great. There's two sections here. One says Include and one says More Controls. The ones listed under Include are the ones that currently show up in my Control Center. The ones under More Controls are what's available to go in my Control Center. Another one I'm going to mention right now, and I'm going to see actually, does anyone in here have something with small print in front of them? Maybe a product box or something like that? Great, Kathy's going to bring me something. For the moment, I'm going to add the option that says magnifier, which now shows right there. Cool. Thank you. Going to my FaceTime. My Control Center now also shows magnifier. Where this can benefit me is Kathy, who's here live, just brought me her awesome new smart thermometer packaging. And it does have some very tiny print on here. There's very tiny print. And we find this all the time on prescriptions, ingredients on different items that we've purchased. So by tapping my magnifying glass now, I've got a much better view. Let me switch my screen here to the phone. Slide up for the Control Center. There's my magnifying glass, newly added. I'll give that a tap. Now I can see this tiny, tiny print. If there's any struggle with this too, I'm going to hit the white button. Whoa. Try to. There we go. Almost got it there. We can see that's now a still frame. And because I'm in the magnifier app, you'll see at the bottom right corner there's three little dots. Those three little circles, they're gray. I'll give that a tap. I can adjust this to become a little bit easier for my eyes. If I am not able to read this white on blue, I can change out filters to make it easier for my eyes. Now, since that was a little fast, I'm going to demonstrate once more. Moving over to my FaceTime here for a moment. And this records through here too. Now that I've taken a still frame of the item that I've magnified, I'm going to use at the bottom right corner the three little circular dots that are gray. By tapping that, I can put filters on this and adjust it, because that blue on white may not be very easy for me to see. For anyone who's newly joined our broadcast today, our special guest is getting just a little bit closer. That is the lawn crew with the leaf blower. And I apologize for the extra noise. Okay, I'm going back to the Settings app. If you're just joining, I'll recap this. Settings, Control Center, which is on the top, Customize Controls. I do strongly recommend, when you have the chance, even now, if you'd like to add some of those and see what they do if you're not familiar with them, this is a great section to check out and find just the discovery. Is this something that you use often? If so, you can add it straight to your Control Center for faster access.
There is a question. We already
Yes, please.
It says, I have a question. Can you
Answer
add
a
any
question.
app to the control center for quick access or only searches and apps?
So, thank you so much, Facebook. We've got a question on what apps can be added to the control center. Is it any app or only certain apps? And it's certain apps. They're all Apple apps that can be added there. And some of them integrate with other services, such as the Apple Wallet app. As I displayed earlier, it allows me to connect with my loyalty cards, but it's only Apple items that can be added to the control center, as it is right now anyway. These things change every so often. Cool. Now, going back into the control center to talk about a couple of other tips that have changed with time. Something that I like to use often on my phone is AirPlay and AirDrop. If you are or are not familiar with it, I'll just briefly mention that AirDrop is just another way of sharing items that are on your Apple device. This works on the phone, on the computer, on the iPad. Where I find this to be useful is I may have a photo or a video or some kind of item on my phone I'd like to get to the computer. I can AirDrop it. I've also used it in a situation where I'm out with people, some that I know, some that I don't, and if we've taken a nice group photo, everyone wants the photo, but I'm not comfortable giving my phone number to everyone. So anyone who has an Apple device, I can AirDrop it to them without having to exchange phone numbers. Now this feature works when you're in the same realm as someone. My special guest is actually right next to me right now. I would interview him, but he is on the go. Those leaves are blowing away. He's doing a great job. Thank goodness, nice and fast. Hopefully he'll be on to his next area soon. I apologize for the sound, for the extra sound effects. So again, with AirDrop, it's another way of sharing things. If you have a photo, you can text it, you can email it, you can post it on Facebook. There's several different ways to get that photo from your phone to the next place. AirDrop is one of them. And it's one in which you don't need to exchange information. So it's been useful for me with taking group photos where I don't want to share an email or my phone number to get that picture to someone else. Now in iOS 11, this item moved. It's not in the same place anymore. And a tip with this is the hard press is going to give you more options. I'm going to do this a couple of times so that way everyone can follow. So I'm going to use the first square in the upper left where you see an airplane, an antenna looking thing, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth symbol. Give it a hard press and it expands with several more options. I'm going to recap again with the screen up over here. So the first square in the upper left, which holds the airplane, the antenna, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth, press it hard and it expands with several more options. At the bottom in the first column, that last option is now AirDrop. So if you've been missing this feature or if you've never used it before, this is where it lives now. It lives in that little square. And you can make your adjustments to AirDrop, which I've just tapped and it shows receiving, off, contacts only, or everyone. I've got a question here. Go ahead.
Is it best to keep it off or on?
So the question is it best to keep it off or on? I'm going to move over here. With AirDrop, having it on you have an option there of contacts only. If it's on with contacts only, people you have saved are the only ones who you'll show up for. If you have it off, no one will be able to see you as an option to share items to. And if you have it on everyone, anyone who's around you can send you an item, which I've never had. I usually have it on everyone. I don't think I've had any surprise items sent to me yet. And the way it'll show up is the name of your device comes up as an option. So for example, I'm going to switch my screen here to show the phone. Yes. The comment that was made here is this is very important if you have a child using one of these devices to keep it off for safety reasons. And I think that that's a great point. That's good advice. This is something to look over and see what the options are and have that discussion on what the power is behind that, because in some situations that could be very useful. Again, the group photos, and keep it on for contacts only unless you're in that situation where you're sharing a photo with a friend of a friend. You don't know person C but person B, you know? Send it to person B or temporarily put it on anyone.
You see that viral photo that was like somebody airdropped somebody in a crowded movie theater with a photo that says like, get off your phone.
I have not seen that. I think maybe we can find a link for this later to add into the comments, but Kenzie just mentioned that there's a viral video now where someone in a crowded movie theater randomly shared some text that said, get off your phone, which you shouldn't be doing in the movie theater. No, that is light. You should be nice and dark. So having your phone on, even if you're just texting, that's light that you're exposing your neighbors to. So there's a pretty useful way and creative way of using AirDrop. And maybe we can get the link for that later. Now I am switching over here. I'm back in settings. I'm going to scroll down to General and About. Here at the top where it says Name Jana's iPhone, whatever is listed here is how you'll know what this device is going to show up as when you're using a feature such as AirDrop. So if you're sharing to one of your devices and you're wondering, well, how am I going to know it's my computer or my iPad or my iPhone that I'm sending it to? It will say the name up there. And if yours only says iPhone, go ahead and put your name in there or something that you like to be called by. Put your identifier in there. If you don't want your name, you can put Darth Vader, you can put President, put whatever you want in there. You can choose what you're comfortable with. Right. Going back to the control center. Sliding up here. There we go. Now we've just gone over this square here, how if you hold it down hard, it will expand and give you more options. The option we just went over was AirDrop, and we've just discussed some of the options within AirDrop. Whether you want to have this feature on receiving off, contacts only, or everyone. And there's no right or wrong with this, it's to your comfort level, and the situation may change it. Just briefly, I'm going to speak about what these others are. I'll move over to the screen. The airplane icon there is airplane mode. It's currently off. If you tap it, it should turn orange, I believe. I am not in a position to tap it myself as I'm broadcasting right now, though this will cut the connections to your cellular service on your phone. So when you are traveling on an airplane, putting your device in airplane mode cuts your cellular service. That's what's important. If you've flown recently, you may see that now it's quite common to have Wi-Fi in the plane. In airplane mode, you can still connect to Wi-Fi. This just cuts your cellular service, which is similar to the item right of it, cellular data on or off. That's what that little icon is. That option is simply on or off. No other settings in there. That one's quite easy. Below that is Bluetooth. This is again just off and on. Next to that is Wi-Fi. This is all of these are actually off and on. We've got an alert over here. Next to or below that is AirDrop, and next to that is Personal Hotspot. all of these options, all 6 of them, these are simply off and on. You have more options for them if you go into your settings. This is just a quick way to turn them off and on. The next square there, which says music, and there's a little triangle, this is a quick way to get to your music and the controls of it. So if you've got your music playing and you'd like to switch the song, change the volume, you don't have to go into the music app. You can go straight to your control center and change your music from here. You can also change where your music is playing from. I am not in a position to press the button myself as I am streaming, but the circle on the far right that has a triangle with several circles around that gives you an option of where do you want that music to play to. From the phone, from your Bluetooth speaker, from your whatever else you may have available. Car stereo perhaps. Now back on this screen, going over the lock rotation option. This is just below the Wi-Fi symbol. I'll switch my screen here for a moment just to point it out. We are right down here below the Wi-Fi, and it looks like a small open lock with a circle and an arrow going around it. What this lets you do, for this one I'm going to move over here to my screen, and let me bring up a search here. Doing a search on my phone, a Google search of puppies. Now, with this, I find this option useful when I'm relaxed and I'm laying down in bed and I start getting comfortable. If I move, my screen will move with me. If I don't want it to move with me, move over here. There's the puppies, so cute. By turning on this lock rotation, moving my phone will not move the content. Switch over here. Now that I've got lock rotation on, it will not move the content. It will stay in portrait mode because I've locked the rotation. Again, I find this useful when I'm either lying down and using my phone or in a situation where I'm showing things I don't want it to move. Control center, lock rotation. Back over to the screen here. Great. Next to that is a little crescent moon. Is anyone in here familiar with that little crescent moon? I see some nods of yes and no. This is a great topic. I want to point out on the very, very top right of my screen, it says 100% battery. You know, it's interesting, when I connect to my phone for streaming purposes, it changes the time. It is not 9:41 a.m. as my phone shows, so don't be alarmed. We haven't been here for that long. We didn't time travel. But you can see a couple of the icons up there. That lets you know what's working in the background. To the left of 100% is a Bluetooth symbol. To the left of that is a little location symbol. You may see some of these things on your phone. In the past, I actually have a background of, I worked for Apple for a good 10 years, and working at the Genius Bar, I cannot count how many times I've encountered someone with the issue of my phone is not ringing. It's not making any sound. I don't hear it ring and I'm missing phone calls. My first go-to to answer this question is to look up there in the upper right corner where it shows your battery status. Do you see a very faint crescent moon? If you don't, you're in good shape. If you do, you have the feature called Do Not Disturb on. Now, this is a great feature. I use it every day. It's a great feature when you know how to use it and you turn it on deliberately. It's when it's unintentionally turned on that it's frustrating because your phone isn't making sounds, you're missing phone calls, which is its purpose. With Do Not Disturb, This is great for the movies, by the way. Putting it on do not disturb, because not only will it silence your phone, it will not brighten up. Normally when you get a phone call, when you get a text message, your screen lights up. Now this is something also that is a setting I practice every night. My husband does not, and throughout the night as he's getting news alerts and email alerts, he gets a coupon at 3 a.m. from a company on the other side of the world, the whole bedroom lights up because he's gotten some kind of notification. Mine doesn't do this because I use Do Not Disturb. Now remember that everything in the control center, for the most part, this is simply off and on. This is a quick way to turn it off and on. So if you're sitting down in your chair at the movie theater, this is the quickest way of, I'm just going to turn it on, and when I'm done, I'm going to turn it off. You have a couple of more settings with this. Let me switch over here to the phone. So slide up to control center. That little crescent moon is Do Not Disturb. I'm exiting that and going into settings, which you can see right at the very top. It's purple. There's the little crescent moon. Do Not Disturb. You can schedule. You can schedule your Do Not Disturb times. Anyone who sent you a message, an email, or calls you, they will hear everything just as normal. They won't have any call blocked, or you won't go straight to voicemail. It's just going to be quiet so it doesn't disturb you. Great for nap time if you need those during the day. Another very important feature of this is the option at the top of the screen here that says Allow Calls From. I currently have favorites on. The other choices are Everyone, No One, and below that you can pick a certain group that will bypass Do Not Disturb. And back at this screen, a little below that is repeated calls. I think this is very important. Let me switch my screen here. So with repeated calls, this I practice personally. I have two younger sisters who live in a different time zone than I do. They are also younger than me and do not need to sleep as much as I do. So they tend to get very active in our group text message very late at night. Midnight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. They're just having conversations, and if I was not using Do Not Disturb, my phone would be like a strobe light buzzing and making all sorts of chaos. And the way this is set up is if there is an emergency, one phone call will be silent. No light, no sound, no buzzing. A second phone call will come through, just like normal. It will make noise, it will ring, it will buzz and do everything as it normally does. So as I've explained to my sisters, if you have an emergency in the middle of the night, if you call me once, I'm sleeping. If you call me a second time, if there's not an emergency, you better watch out because it will ring that second time. Now let's switch screens here. Again, this is the option of repeated calls. I highly recommend to have this on. A second call from the same person, there's a time limit there. If they call a second time within 3 minutes, it will not be silenced. It will ring and light up and do everything as it normally does. So this is why it's a great practice for me. If one phone call comes in, it's going to be quiet. It will not disturb me. If there is an emergency, chances are that person will call you more than once anyway, so it will go through. It's great to just mention it to family. If you call me in the middle of the night and I don't answer, it will be silent. Make sure you call me twice, because that second phone call is what makes it ring. Great. Switch my screen here. There's a couple of other options here in Do Not Disturb. They are very, very straightforward. One actually that's new with iOS 11 is the Do Not Disturb while driving. I'll tap that there. Your options are automatically, when connected to car Bluetooth, and manually. Personally, I have turned this on by accident and probably had the most peaceful drive of my life since having an iPhone. So what this will do is when it detects your going speeds of a car driving, it will automatically turn itself on, should you have it on automatically, which it behaves just as we've discussed. It will be quiet. No dinging or binging, ringing, or light up. Manually, you can decide when it's off and on, and it can turn itself on when it's connected to the car Bluetooth. So another interesting thing about this is when Do Not Disturb while driving is on, you'll see there's another option at the bottom that says Auto Reply To. I'll switch my screen here. This was a fun one for me to discover by accident. See, some accidents, they work out. You get to learn things from accidents. Auto Reply, you can choose to anyone who contacts you while you're driving or to specific people. And Auto Reply, you decide what goes in there. So the default message I've got here is I'm driving with Do Not Disturb while driving turned on. I'll see your message when I get where I'm going. Where this is worked out is if I'm driving and I get a text message, the person who's texted me will get that. They'll get that message right away as the response. So there's no question of, why isn't this person answering me? Or if they see it's on, they'll know to call 2 times to get through to me to say, hey, I need to talk to you before you get home because I need you to stop at Chick-fil-A, as Kathy did so kindly for me this morning. The way it'll work is while you're driving and it's on, anyone who texts you through that time, they will get that message. And you can change the message to say something else. I'm driving. If this is an emergency, call me twice. Or something like that. I'm pretty sure texting and driving is no longer legal in Texas. Is that true? Yeah? I don't think everyone is abiding by this law yet, but this is a great way to help you with that and inform others who are texting you while you're driving what's going on. So it's a pretty neat feature. I'm going to switch my screen again here, go back to the control center, and we've got just 2 more items on here, and they're both very, very similar. There's a sunshine, a beautiful shining sun in a little column here. This is the brightness of my screen, which I apologize, Facebook, this will not show for you, but you can see this in person here. My screen is getting brighter and dimmer. Before the flashlight app came out, I think this was everyone's way of using their phone as a flashlight, is just turn the screen on really bright and use that as your flashlight. You can kind of see it here. This dims and brightens my screen. To the right of that is your volume. Now you may have seen that there's several ways to do the same thing throughout the phone. You also have volume controls on the side. This is just another way of adjusting your volume. That's fantastic. Thank you everyone who's tuned in. I've just heard we've had about 62 people tune in. Thank you so much. Please, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and make a comment. Send a message to us. Let us know. I'd be happy to answer them. And if you've got anything interesting you'd like to be discussed next time, let us know. We'd like to cover as many things as we can. So just a quick recap on some of the items we've gone over today. This discussion was on iOS 11, the Control Center. The Control Center can be brought up on your phone and your iPad by, I like to place my finger right next to the home button and slide up. Now this feature works whether the phone is unlocked, meaning you've already put your passcode in and can see your apps, or if it's locked, and you need to put in your passcode. Either way, you can bring up your control center. By going into the Settings app, I'll move over here to my other screen. Scrolling down just a little bit in the Settings, I'll bring it right to the top. There's an option for Control Center in which you can make adjustments, such as customize controls. They are only, at this moment, they are only Apple additions. It's only Apple controls you can put in here. Where it says include, this is what currently shows up in your control center. More controls down here are potential. These can all be added to your control center. These options tend to simply be off and on. You will find settings for several of these features in the settings area here, which I'm currently in. Slide back up here. We discussed in some good depth the magnifier app, which you can now see at the very bottom of my screen, almost in the middle. Give this a tap, and it's brought up an item I needed to zoom into. It's great when you have an item that's got some very small print on it, such as this on the side here. I've pressed the white button to make a still frame. And again, at the bottom right, there's 3 gray circles that allow you to change the color scheme that's on this. Maybe yellow on or white on blue doesn't work so well for my vision. To make some changes here. Back to the control center. Another main point we've made is there are hidden options in here. For example, AirDrop, which can be brought up with a hard touch. Pressing that hard expands that box for you to see the rest of the options. Great. Got a question from Kathy.
She wants to put the wallet app on her control center for quick access, but she's worried that then anyone can get into her wallet app.
That is a great question from Kathy, which you'll see in the comments there. Now, let's see how we're actually nearing the end of our discussion today, so I'm going to go ahead and lock my screen. This may or may not broadcast on Facebook, so we'll take a look here. If I lock my screen, switch over. Yeah, okay. Conquered my fear there. So this is the lock screen. Lock just means that it's locked, needing your password. Kathy asked, here's all my alerts. Pardon that. Oops. There we go. Get back over here. Okay, here's my control center. Kathy asked, with it being so easy to just swipe up and access your loyalty cards, how secure is that? I haven't put in my passcode here. This is how my phone is. Just at the bottom it says press home to unlock. I've got my fingerprint, or I might need to put a passcode in. If it's that easy to just swipe up and get to the wallet app, is it secure? So this is a great question, and in fact, if I'm going to switch again here to my FaceTime so you can see me. My phone screen is locked. I need to put my passcode in. Swipe up. Hi. Black in there. There we go. Here's my control center. Tap the wallet. I've just been informed that to access that, I need to put in my passcode. It is secure. Yes. It was just said it cuts out a couple of steps, but you still do need to put in your passcode. I'm going to switch to this screen. Alright, I'm locked out. Bring up my control center. Tap the wallet, and it does need me to put in my passcode. And to cut out even more steps, If your phone is capable of Touch ID, I do highly recommend it. I mentioned earlier the most used loyalty card in my wallet app is my gym membership. So going into the gym, I've got my bag and my shoes in one hand, and it's a hassle to find the card out of my wallet. So it's easier on the phone. I can slide through, find their app, wait for it to load, or as I'm walking in, Kathy, this is a good one for you to answer your question as well. Just sliding it up. When it's prompted me to unlock, I just need to throw my finger on there and it goes straight to it. So nice and quick. All right, we have gone over all of the features in the Control Center. Again, this is an iOS 11. I want to thank everyone who's here in person. Thank you for your questions and for being here. If you're watching on Facebook and you're local to Houston, come visit us next time. We are inside the loop near the west side, kind of near the Galleria area. We will have the address posted on here. Please continue to comment, message us, let us know what you'd like to learn about next time. We'd love to have you join in again through Facebook Live or here in person in our Bridging Apps lab at the Easter Seals of Greater Houston main location. Again, thank you. Our special guest has left. They are gone. No more leaf blowing, but it was great to have them. I hope that as wonderful as they were, I do hope they are not on the same schedule as next time. Thank you everyone for your patience with that, and see you next time. Thanks so much.